Hello there, people of the internet. I want to talk to you guys about why choosing a 5.56 cartridge would be a better choice for most people than having them choose a full power rifle round like a 308. Now, I'm using 308 as an example because that is probably going to be the best choice in comparison to something like, say, a 30-06, simply because most of your 308 rifles have they're more modern. If we're talking about like your battle rifle concept, we're not talking about a hunting rifle, which can be chambered in absolutely anything. I got a hunting rifle chambered in 223 right here. I got hunting rifles chambered in 300 Win Mag. I got them chambered in. I got a hunting rifle in 22 long rifle. But for all intents and purposes, for the sake of this argument, we're going to go ahead and focus on like a battle rifle, fighting rifle style of rifle in comparison to something that is more or less used for recreational purposes. Although most people are not going to find themselves in a role where they use any sort of rifle for defensive purposes, more often than not it's going to be a handgun. There are situations where that might potentially pop up, or that has popped up, especially as we find ourselves going more and more into uncertain times. This right here is not me fear-mongering. This is more or less a discussion about not even necessarily possibilities, just what I think the average person should have in terms of the capabilities of the average person and the likelihoods of what is most likely to happen. So I think that something like the 5.56 cartridge is going to be a more advantageous round in comparison to something like a 308. Aha, there's my 308. It's hunting season, and these right here, TOZ 122, these are 308 rounds that are fireformed specifically for my hunting rifle with 150 grains soft points. I think that these are Spears bullets, and they got 43 grains of 4064 down to 1/10 of a grain. This particular ammunition is exceptionally accurate, and this is what we'll be using for our representations of 308, because this is what I have sitting next to me. So if you notice, the 5.56 round is significantly smaller than your 308 round. That means that you can carry significantly more ammunition. I'm going to acknowledge right now that the 308 is going to be more powerful than the 5.56. However, there are very, very, very few examples where you need 308 power over 5.56 power. We're going to go ahead and talk about how whenever people bring this up, oftentimes they talk about shooting at long distances. Most engagements by professional military forces are within 300 yards, which is well within the realms of what the 5.56 is capable of handling. And most engagements of that is within 100 yards, and that's professional military forces. If we're talking about civilians, civilians can't hit anything beyond like 50 yards. If you can hit anything beyond 50 yards, you are an anomaly. Like, go out to a public gun range. I say this all the time on the channel. Go out to a public gun range and just pay attention to how far people can actually shoot. Once you get beyond 100 yards, people can't even hit a man-sized target. Hell, most of the optics and things that are on people's rifles are just zeroed for good enough distances according to them. Like, they'll have it good enough. And that is definitely not the ideal setup that you want for your firearm, but that is the true setup of what the average person is running. They have close enough zeros on their firearms to be able to hit things within the distances that they can actually hit. Most of their shooting practice is done offhand and they're mag dumping into garbage, and if you give them an empty chamber on their rifle or something like that and they pull the trigger, you'll see them go like this every single time, because I mean, all that just leads to a lack of accuracy. The accuracy of the average person is not good enough to dictate the necessity of having a long-range cartridge. That is one of the biggest factors why I think 5.56 is going to be your best option, because it is well within the realms of what most people are capable of shooting at. Now, if you do want to argue the ballistic capabilities of 5.56, and I understand that there are some limitations to the cartridge, especially since most people are rocking AR-15s that have a 16-inch barrel. If you are concerned about that, then I would recommend going out and getting yourself something that has a 20-inch barrel, because that is the like legitimate most effective way to get the best bang for your buck out of your 5.56 ammunition. I got this KP15 lower, PSA upper build. It's a 20-inch barrel, 1-in-7 twist. This right here is a really good rifle for sending projectiles out at a pretty gosh darn good velocity. But most people are going to be rocking that 16-inch barrel, but that's still going to send a 55 grain bullet at about 2,900 feet per second, give or take, somewhere around that ballpark. Maybe a little bit more depending on the brand of ammunition and what it is that you're actually using, but we're going to guesstimate around there. And within 300 yards, that's still pretty gosh darn effective. And if you're still concerned about that, 77 grain VMAX does absolutely horrendous things to soft tissue. I've used that on just numerous different things, and I have seen firsthand just how effective a 77 grain VMAX round is, and they are overwhelmingly effective. So if you want to argue effectiveness, maybe a full metal jacket isn't for you. I mean, bullet design really is everything. That being said, I understand the 308 has more power. You hit something with a 308 round, I mean, most people are going to be rocking full metal jackets no matter what cartridge it is that we're talking about, because those are the cheapest. If we have a 55 grain or a 62 grain full metal jacket and you smack a soft target with it, if you do the same thing with a 308, odds are the 308 is going to do more damage to that target. But the big issue with 308 is the 30 caliber round holds itself together quite well, and unless you're passing through a rather large target, odds are it's not going to yaw, it's not going to tumble as it passes through that target. Like, it's just going to kind of poke a hole through it and not transfer very much of its energy onto its target. What makes the 5.56 round so gosh darn effective is once it smacks into a target, it disintegrates on impact and it transfers all of its energy onto its target, versus something like a 308, which would just kind of punch right through it, and most of its energy would be lost at whatever is behind the target. So the 308 does have more energy to transfer onto that target than the 5.56, but the 5.56 transfers more energy on target more often than not than the 308. So 308, bigger, more powerful, less energy transfer, less effectiveness on tissue, less torn up tissue, unless we're talking about something like a soft point or an expanding round or something like that. But like I said, most people are going to end up rocking full metal jackets, especially if we're talking about a battle rifle style of concept. And if we are talking about that battle rifle style of concept, I'm going to go back to the point of being able to shoot at long distances. Most of your budget tier ARs and most of your battle rifles are going to be like a 4 MOA rifle. If you have a more accurate rifle than that, then you have an anomaly of a rifle, because most of them are going to be 4 MOA accuracy, especially if we're talking about just standard run-of-the-mill, like surplus style ammunition. If you want to go with like match-grade ammo or match-grade bullets, or hand-load your ammunition to specifically run very adequately within your rifle, which is kind of what I did for my hunting rifle, then you can get exceptionally good groups out of some otherwise not that accurate rifles. But by a large margin, you're looking at about 4 MOA groups. Out at, say, 300 yards, that's a foot spread, whether you're using 5.56 or 308. Out beyond that, say, we'll call it, I don't know, 600 yards, that's about the realms where 5.56 starts to really diminish in capabilities and 308 really begins to shine. You're still looking at a 2-foot spread, which is beyond the realms of being able to hit effectively and efficiently a human-sized target. So even if you do have that extra power of the 308, the likelihood of you missing your target, unless you're rocking some kind of precision rifle, is still going to be quite low. And most people wouldn't be able to make that shot anyway. Most people wouldn't be able to make that shot at 200 yards or 300 yards, which is why most people don't need that 308 round. The average person, their capabilities, the 5.56 just shines well enough for them. And that's one of the main reasons why 5.56 and other cartridges, other intermediate cartridges like it, like 7.62x39 and 5.45, that's one of the main reasons why cartridges like that absolutely shine, because they are effective enough at the distances that most people are capable. they're effective enough to be able to do whatever job it is that needs done, with all the benefits of being able to carry more ammunition, with all the benefits of being able to carry ammunition in a smaller space. You have the benefits of larger capacity magazines. Typically, your battle rifles will have a 20-round magazine versus your ARs or AKs, which will have something like a 30-round magazine. The benefits of the lighter weight additional ammunition that you'll be able to carry on person that is effective out to most engagements that most people would need to have a cartridge be effective at, that the benefits of that right there dramatically outweigh the benefits of carrying a larger, heavier system that has more power. Yes, it does have more power, I will give you that, but you have less ammunition. You still have the same level of accuracy with these incapable shooters that they would have if they had a 5.56 or not. So if they're going to spend 10 rounds trying to hit a target at 100 yards, and they have a 300-round loadout with 5.56, but a 200-round loadout with a battle rifle of some kind, a full power rifle, I would rather them have that 50% additional ammunition in terms of weight to ammo ratio with that 5.56 in comparison to that battle rifle that they would otherwise be carrying around. So there are some benefits with 308. I will give you guys that, but man, the benefits just are not good enough to justify going to a 308 and replacing a 5.56 with that 308 in terms of what most people would need a rifle to be able to do. Now, all that being said, this right here is more or less a just for fun video. Most people aren't going to be using a rifle of any sort for any sort of encounters. Most of your defensive situations happen with a handgun, but in the event that something does happen, I think that a 5.56 rifle would definitely be the ideal rifle in comparison to something like a 308. Now, if you are of the ability to be able to touch out to longer distances, then maybe a good accurate 308 rifle would be good for you, or maybe a good accurate 30-06, or maybe a 7.5 Swiss. I don't know. Pick your poison with that. Pick your poison for wanting to touch out to long distances, because most people can't do that. Most people, 5.56, like the maximum distances of 5.56, the maximum capabilities of 5.56 are well within the realms of what most people need a rifle to be able to do. And that's one of the reasons why platforms like the AR and the AK and similar platforms like that still fire the 7.62x39 or the 5.56, that's why those rifles are so gosh darn mainstream nowadays. Just because they're so good at what they need to do for most of your people. Thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.